हरि ओम् सर्वेभ्यः नमस्कारः अद्वैतचिन्तनवर्गे सर्वेषां स्वागतम् ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्यासम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यं मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. So in the last class we had an introduction to the Chatusutri Brahmasutra as a Prasthanatraya, based on which the entire the philosophy of Indian spiritual knowledge is dependent upon the Gita, the Upanishad and the Brahmasutra. We are, as we decided, we are going to deal only the first 4 sutras of the Brahmasutra, and towards that the Ubodhkadam Vashyam, or the introductory preamble, preface, or what we call it as in English, is what we are now going to. Even though we had a for auspicious inauguration, but we didn't go into that detail. Today onwards we will get into the word by word or sentence by sentence and analyze what does it implicate, or what are the further deeper implications of that. So the first statement itself, Acharya Shankara is referring to a opposition raised by a Purva Pakshi, or one who is not accepting the Siddhanta or the stand of Advaita. So that is what the first statement is all about, and it looks like as if it is a statement from the Siddhanta, or those who are standing with Advaita, but for one word in it. Otherwise it looks as if it is our statement. That is the most of the people will get confused about it. Let us see how it is. युष्मत् अस्मत् प्रत्ययगोचरयोः विषय विषयिनोः तमप्रकाशवत् विरुद्धस्वभावयोः इतरेतरभावानुपपत्तौ सिद्धायां तद्धर्माणामपि सुतराम् इति इतरेतरभावानुपत्तिः इत्यतः अस्मत् प्रत्ययगोचरे विषयिनि चिदात्मके युष्मत् प्रत्ययगोचरस्य विषयस्य तद्धर्माणां च अध्यासः तद्विपर्ययेन विषयिन तद्धर्माणां च विषये अध्यासो नित्येति भवितुं युक्तम्. So युष्मत् अस्मत् प्रत्ययगोचरयोः विषय विषयिनो. The Gambhirananda's commentary is saying that the object and the subject that are fit to be contents of the concept of you and we respectively. Yushmat is a word used to indicate all the forms of you, which is a concept of you. Asmat is for I or we. So it is contents of concept. Pratyaya gochara means knowledge or jnanam, avabodhanam, in the form of vishaya vishayino, as the object and the subject. Vishayam and vishayi. Vishayi is the one subject and vishaya is the object. So these two knowledge as the subject and the object, pratyaya gochara means is the concept or the apprehension of it. Tamaprakashavat viruddha svabhavayoh, like the nature of light and darkness, they are contradictory. Tamaprakasha means darkness and light. What means like or similar? Viruddha svabhavayoh is opposing in nature. there are two ways in which the viruddha swabhava is accepted. Simultaneous coexistence, impossibility of that is one aspect of it. So you can say the darkness and the light cannot be present in the same spot at the same time because they are opposing in nature, viruddha swabhavayo. Then another one is bhadya badaka bhava, or the presence of one removes the other. That also is applicable in the case of light and darkness. So the darkness, but in the case of light and darkness, it's only the light which will remove the darkness. The darkness cannot remove the light. So there is the bhadya badaka bhava is only one-sided. It is not both-sided. That is, when the light comes, the darkness will go, but when darkness is there, the light cannot go. So that is the defect of the bhadya badaka bhava, or the one affecting the other one. But in the case of saha anavastha, that is simultaneous coexistence, that aspect is accepted in the case of tama and prakasha, that in the light and darkness can never be present in the same place at the same time, because the moment the light comes, the darkness is removed. So that is the nature which is there for vishayi and vishaya. So that is why the moment we are the perceiver, we can never be the object. That is what the tama prakashavad viruddha swabhayo is indicating, that vishaya vishayinoho pratyaya gocharayoho, because the word asmat and yushmat, when I am talking about myself, I can never be you, nor when I am referring to you, it cannot be I. So therefore there is that viruddha swabhava between the asmat and yushmat as far as the perception or cognition or apprehension is concerned. Vishaya vishayino. Same is the case with the subject and the object. The subject will be always a subject. It can never be an object for itself. The moment some aspect of it is being objectified, then there is further division or separation between the subject and the object. So idaredara bhavanupattau siddhayam, it being established, the fact that cannot logically have any identity. Idaredara means mutual bhavanupattau is it cannot logically have any identity. Idaredara bhavanupattau. Not only that, tad dharmanam api sutaram idaredara bhavanupatti. Not only that, it also follows that their attribute also can have still less, because the attributes are based on the nature of the object. Not that the object attributes of one object can be seen or is transferred on the other as the object of the one which is being. So suppose if A has an attribute and B is not having that attribute, that attribute of A cannot be transferred to B and say that A's attribute is now seen in B. So that is what it is. Here what does it say? That the knowing aspect, or the cognition or the knowing aspect, is of the self, or the one who is a subject. So it has to be always in the subject, but due to whatever the explanation which is going to come later, the body assumes that it is the one which is going through the pain, pleasure, knowing, etc. So that is the dharma iteredara bhavanupatti. So the knowing aspect of the self can never be attributed onto the body. Same way, the body's activities, like the qualities like young, old, male, female, all those things are that of the body, but the subject is not having that aspect of young or old. That is why from childhood till now we never felt that we are the I-ness, or the way which we knew ourselves has not become old. We still have that, even though we know our body has gone through the aging process. The knower aspect has not diminished or expanded. It is still remaining the same. So that is why the attribute also is less. Sudara means less attributable, interchangeable. Ityadaha, accordingly, asmat pratyaya gochare vishayini chidatmake, the attributes on the subject, that is consciousness by nature, and is referable through the word concept of vi, asmat pratyaya gochare vishayini chidatmake, means the conscious nature of chidatmaka, of the vishayi, of the subject. By using the term asmat, vi is the attributes of the subject. Yushmat pratyaya gocharayasya vishayasya tad dharmanam cha. So the concept which is you, referable as the object, adhyasaha, superimposition. So this adhyasaha is the one which is being now being mixed up. That is, asmat pratyaya gochara and yushmat pratyaya gochara are now being superimposed upon one another. Not only that, the subject and object is mistaken for each other. Tad dharmanam api, the nature of the subject and the object is also mixed up. Tad viparyena, contrary-wise, vishayena tad dharmanam cha vishaye adhyasaha, the subject and the attributes of the object. That is, vishayinaha dharmana. Vishayinaha dharmana means the attributes of the subject. Vishaye adhyasaha is now attributed onto the object. This mithya iti bhavitum yuktam should be impossible to be a superimposition or a delusion. Because why? The subject can never be an object, nor can the object be never a subject. So this is impossible for this superimposition to take place. You Advaitins are saying that it is a adhyasaha, mutual, not only that the subject and object is getting interchanged, their attributes also are getting changed, and then we feel the body is the I, and the Atma, which is the one which is knowing. The body cannot by itself know anything, so the knowing aspect which is being felt in the Atma is now seen as the body. So Atma, the nature of the Atma, or the nature of the body, like what it is happening to the body, aging, etc., is now attributed onto that. I am old, I am young, etc., is one superimposition. Not only that, the knowing aspect of Atma is now being said that we are experiencing that the body is experiencing that. Body is the one which is knowing. So what does it say? The superimposition of the object referable through the concept of you, and its attributes on the subject, that is consciousness by nature, is referable through the concept we, should be impossible, and contrary-wise, the superimposition of the subject and attributes should be impossible. This is what the opponent is saying, that your stand that there is adhyasaha, or there is mutual attribution from the subject and the object. That is just not possible, because subject and object are opposing each other like light and darkness. When the subject is known as subject, it can never be an object, nor can be an object which is known to a subject can assume that it is the subject at the time of objectifying. By itself it can become a subject when it is objectifying something else. But in the sahanavastha situation, that is the coexistence of both of them in one interaction. The subject is separate, the object is separate. They cannot be interchanged or superimposed between each other. Tathapi अन्योन्यस्मिन् अन्योन्यात्मकताम् अन्योन्यधर्मांश्च इतरेतर अविवेकेन अत्यन्तविभक्तयोः धर्मधर्मिणोः मिथ्याज्ञाननिमित्तः सत्यानृते मिथुनीकृत्य अहमिदं ममेदम् इति नैसर्गिकोऽयं लोकव्यवहारः. तथापि nevertheless अन्योन्यस्मिन् अन्योन्यात्मकताम्, between the two substances, that is the subject and the object. Anyonya dharmancha, their attributes also, not only the subject and the object, but their attributes also. Adyatah idara avivekena, due to the absence of discrimination, avivekena, discrimination, absence of atyanta vivaktayoho, which are absolutely disparate or separate in all aspects. Atyanta vivakta, that means no way you can mistake for the subject to be object nor the object to be subject. Yet dharma dharminoho, between the dharma dharminoho, between the one which is having dharma and the dharminoho, mithya jnana nimitta satyanirte mithuni kritya. Now this is the statement which should be remembered. Mithya jnana nimitta, by mixing up the reality and unreality, satyanirte mithuni kritya. Mithuni kritya is to means to mix up. What? Satya and anartha, reality and unreality. How does that mixing up takes place? As a result of superimposition. Mithya jnana nimittasya, that non-apprehension or the confusion which is there at the time of interaction, the attributes and the subject and object are mixed up. Aham idam mamedam, aham idam mamedam iti naisargikaha ayam lokavyavaharaha. There continues to be a natural human behavior. This is not that it is created by somebody or something is being seen as told to the subject, now you have to do attribute, change the attribute to the object, or the object is told, now you interchange your object with the subject. Nobody is telling that to you. It is a natural human behavior, naisargika. Ayam loka vyavaharaha, based on self-identification in the forms of aham, I am this, and mine, this is mine. This aham idam mamedam, that is I am, aham idam means I am this. Mamedam, this is mine, which is that this type of transaction is due to this mix-up. What? Satyajnana, satyanruta midrikritya mityajnana nimittam eva naisargikam ayam loka vyavahara yena karanena aham idam mamedam iti vyavaharaha. So this is a natural habit, because we have not understood. We are in the grip of delusion or adhyasa. When it started, we cannot say, because ignorance has no beginning. But it has an end when the knowledge comes. Same way, this mixing up of between the subject and the object and their attributes between each other is going on as if it's a natural process, because of which we say that I am this body and anything related to my body is mine. So the mine, the house is mine. When I am saying, it is referring to the body, the house belongs to the body, or this hand is mine. When it is being said, it is of the part of the body. So what happens is that aham idam, this mix-up which we are now saying, is not realizing that we are in a state of delusion, because naisargika lyoya vyavaharam, that is by nature, the transactions have been going on for ions, and we always have this mixing up of Satyanurtam, what is real and what is unreal. That mixing up is the reason why we are going through that. Aha, then the question comes from that, when we said that this is the reason Loka Vyavahara is due to Adhyasa, when Vedantin says that, Advaitin says that this is because of the mix-ups. The cause for that is Adhyasaha, which is, Adhyasa is what? Mithya jnana nimitta satyanate mithanikrutya aham idam iti Loka Vyavahara. This is the Adhyasa, what is that? So the question is being asked now. Aha koyam adhyaso nameti uchyate smriti rupa paratra purva drishta abhavasaha tam kechit anyatra anyadharmasaha adhyasaha iti vadanti. Kechittu yatra yad adhyasaha tad viveka agrahi nibandhano brahmaha iti. Anye tu yatra yad adhyasah tasya eva viparita dharmatva kalpanam achakshate. Sarvatapi tu anyasya anyadharmava basatam na vyavicharati. Tata cha loke anubhava shuktika hi rajavat abhasate. Ekas chandra sadvitiyavat iti. So now there is a question by the opposition or the Purva Pakshi. Koyam adhyasah nama. If that is the case, you are saying that mithunikrutya satyanurte mithunikrutya loka vyavahara is adhyasah. Then what is this adhyasah? What is this superimposition? Uchyate. I will tell you. But smriti rupa paratra purva drishta avavasaha. That is, it is all awareness similar to the nature of memory that arises on a different basis as a result of some past experience. Smriti rupaha is the past experience, which is the memory result of that. Paratra purva drishta, arising from a scene in a previous occasion somewhere, is now being brought into awareness to mix up between this subject which is being now perceiving the object. Now tam kechit anyatra anyadharma dhyasaha iti vadanti. Now he is, Acharya Shankara himself is giving the different types of confusion which are being referred in his period of time. With regard to this, some say it consists of superimposition of attributes of one thing on another. Anyatra anya dharmas dhyasaha iti vadanti kechit. Kechit too, but some others, yatra yat adhyasaha tat viveka agrahi nibandhanaha brahmaha iti. But others assert that wherever the superimposition is on anything occurs, there is in evidence only a confusion arising of the absence of discrimination between them. This is what Prabhakara Mimamsa is saying, that there is no discrimination. Now if you look at Shuktikarajatam or say snake and rope, the discrimination between the rope and the snake, how can you say that? You have not seen the rope, so you are bringing the snake from a memory. That is what Shankara Advaita has said. That is paratra drishta purva abhavasaha. Whereas these are the people who is saying what is the type of adhyasaha that are happening between them. Then there are some others say anye tu yatra yat adhyasaha tasya eva viparita dharmatva kalpanam achakshate. What does it say? Others say that the superimposition of anything on any other substratum consists in fancying some opposite attributes on that basis. Sarvatapi tu anyasya anya dharma avabhasatam na vyavicharati. From every point of view, however, there is no difference in all these method of explaining. There is no difference as regards to the appearance of one thing as something else. तदा च लोकानुभव shuktika hi rajavat avasate ekachandra sa dvidivat. And in accordance with this, we find a very common example that the nature is appearing as silver, or a single moon appears as two due to some defect of the eye or some defect of perception. Now, if you really want to say that, there is method 5. It is what is called the Panchakhyati, which I told in the last class also. There is a detailed this thing. Atma khyadi rajakyadi akhyadi khyadi tada nirvachaniya khyadirityedat khyadi panchakam iti. Atmakhyadi, self-apprehension, which is of Vaibhashika, Sutrantika, Yokachara and Madhyamaka or Niharis. Each one of them saying that the Vaibhashika says this school accepts the existence of external objects that can be recognized through perception only. That is, they are like more like what you call Charvaka. They say that it is perception only. There is no mix-up. Sutrantika says that they also accept the existence of external objects, but hold that their existence can be known only by inference from cognition, not by direct perception. So there is a difference between Vaibhashika and Sutrantika. The Yokachara, they say they deny the existence of external objects and hold that it is only internal cognition that are externalized as object. In their case, what happens? Every apprehension is an internal matter, and it is a projection of this experience which is inside as a externalized object. This is what which we'll have to take as an opponent, because this is coming closer to what we are also saying, but there is a different set. Then there is Shunyavadins or Madhyamikas or Nihilis, where according to this school there are neither external objects nor internal objection, but nothing but Shunya. So that is what this thing. So this is being taken in detail in the second chapter, second section, and 18th sutra onwards. Shankara is taking all the four of them and negating one by one. But now, for us, what is that? To revert the theory of Atmakhyadi, that according to this, illusory objects, say silver, as well as the substratum nature, both are non-existent and are only internal ideas. This is the Yokachara school. The error consists of their being perceived as exact objects, is what their theory is. Just as this nature is only a form of inner consciousness, there is no physical nature outside as per them. So the illusory silver is also from the inside only. In the term Atmakhyadi, the word Atma stands for the consciousness which is momentary and which appears as external objects. And Vedanta rejects this theory on the grounds that, on the grounds for rejection is that of the substratum nature, and the illusory silver are only forms of inner consciousness. Then there cannot be any distinction between valid and erroneous perception. So this is one aspect. Like that, they are getting Asatkyadi, Akhyadi, and Anyadakhyadi. Those who want can tell me. I'll send you this write-up. Let us now look what is our stand. Anirvachaniya Khyadi is the stand by the Vedantists, Advaitins. How does an erroneous perception take place, or illusory cognition happen? This is a theory of Advaitins. It is pointed out illusory cognition being direct and immediate, its subjects must be present here and now. That is the stand we have taken. The object must be present. Must be present, or the nature, the shell should be present here and now. It is the positive experience of the object that this is silver that incites the experiencer to immediate effort to pick up for silver on his spot. But silver which is silveriness, which is seen on the shell, is the reason which prompts the person who has got the error in perception to pick up thinking it is silver. It is sublated only by the cognition of the nature. But the moment he touches the nature, the shell in the hand, his silveriness vanishes. The silver which is perceived here and now must be present where it appears. That is what we are saying. The silveriness or the silver perceived on the nature is present, but it appears where it appears on the object. Yet it cannot be considered as real because it is get negated due to the knowledge of the nature. If it had been the real silver, that would have never been removed, possible to remove that by knowing that it is the shell, nature. The knowledge of the snake vanishes when we know it is a rope, right? So nor can it be called unreal because it is perceived. At the same time, we have discussed this. Prompting the person to move towards that and picking it up is a positive kriya or positive action which is prompted by the silveriness. Therefore, you cannot call it as unreal, because unreal is where you don't see it at all. What is unreal? Like the son of a barren woman, cannot be an object of experience. Even in dream or illusion, as per the Mandukya Karika. Therefore, the silver must therefore belong to a category of objects different from that of normal experience. So what is that silver which is making us, prompting us to go towards it and pick it up? It must be of a different category, in the sense that it cannot be considered as real, it cannot be considered as unreal, because unreal will never make us do anything. It has an apparent existence, pradibhasika sattvam, that is apparent reality. It appears, therefore appears as real, distinct from empirical reality, vyavaharika satyam. See, vyavahara satyam is, now you have to understand the empirical knowledge is that the name, like a pot which we are using for transaction, vyavahara, the pot is the name and the form of the pot is real. We are transacting with the shape and the name of the pot, but we should also know that the pot is a name and the form for the same mud which could have become something else also. So there is why it is called a reality due to for the transactional value. That is why which is there. Whereas in the case of pratibhasika sattvam, that is apparent existence, it has no real existence, no transactional value, but it creates a motivational aspect or some kriya, some activity in the cognizer for doing something. Either the snake will create a fear, or the silver seen on the nature will create as him to go towards and pick it up. An empirical object exists prior to its being perceived and afterwards, but an illusory object lasts only as long as the perception lasts. That is another aspect. The difference between vyavaharya and pratibhasika is that way. The vyavahara object, the name and the shape of the pot, even though it is made of mud only, that remains as long as the empirical activity is going on. But an illusory object, the snake on the rope or the nature, silver on the nature, lasts only as long as the perception lasts. The moment that is negated by knowledge, the illusory object has no practical purpose, or it doesn't have any existence. It is not real like the object of common experience, nor it is unreal like the son of a barren woman. Therefore, it is indefinable. Therefore, it is anirvachaniyam. It is neither existent, that is neither sat nor asat. nor can it be described as both existent and non-existent. Because these are contradictory attributes and cannot apply to one and the same thing at the same time. But Sat and Asat, that existence and non-existent can coexist simultaneously in something is impossible because they are saha anavastha. They cannot have that. And Bhadya Badaka Bhavam also is there. Therefore, the Sat and Asat cannot be there. But therefore, it is Vilakshana. Sadasat Vilakshana. It is neither Sat nor Asat. Therefore, it is Anirvachaniya. Apart from the above 5 main theories, there are certain other theories also. There are some 15 Khyadivadas which are there in the technical books, which we can see if anybody is interested to know what are the type of errors which are happening. There are detailed study on that. So what does it now say? So now the Advaitin has to establish that what is this Adhyasa and why it is happening. Katam punaha, the opponent is now putting a question. Katam punaha pratyagatma atmanya vishaye adhyasoho vishayata dharmanam sarvo hi purvavastita eva vishaye vishayantaram adhyasyati yushmat pratyayapatesya cha pratyagatmanah avishayatvam bravishi. Katam punaha pratyagatmani avishaye adhyasaha vishaya tad dharmanam. How again can there be a superimposition on any object or on its attributes, the self that is opposed to the non-self and is never an object? So we all know that pratyagatma, the self, is avishaya, is never an object. On that, how can there adhyasa of the vishaya and tad dharmana? How does that vishaya and tad dharmanam pratyagatmani avishaye adhyasaha bhavati katam? That is the question of that. So sarva hi pura avastita eva vishaye vishayantaram adhyasyati yushmat pratyayapattasya cha pratyagatmanah avishayatvam bravishi. For everybody superimposes something else on what is perceived by him in front, and you assert that self is opposed to the non-self and it is not referable as an object, as you concept as that you. Now this is that thing, everybody superimposes something else on what is being perceived in front of him. All of us have the object. The world is an object, is full of multi-product and multi-various objects are being perceived by in front of us, and the self is opposed to non-self. The subject which is perceiving the object is different from the non-self which is the object, and cannot be referred as objectively by concept as you. So there again this avishayatvam cannot be superimposed on the Atmani. So the Siddhanti says, Uchyate, the answer is that na tavad ayam ekantena vishayaha asmat pratyaya vishayatvat aparokshatvat cha pratyagatma prasiddhe na ayam asti niyamaha puro avastita eva vishaye vishayantaram adhyasyatya vyam adhyasyatya iti apratyashe api hi akasho bala talamaladi adhyasyanti evam viruddha pratyagatmani anyapi anatma adhyasaha. So now what is this superimposition nature what we are talking about? The answer is na tavat ayam ekantena avishayah asmat pratyaya vishayatvat aparoshatvat cha pratyagatma prasiddhe. The self is not absolutely beyond apprehension. Pratyagatma is not beyond apprehension, because the moment we say that the subject can never be objectified, then the question will come, can the subject then ever be known? The self can never be known in that case. So that is being said, no, the self is not absolutely beyond apprehension. Why? Because it is apprehended as a concept of the content of I. Whenever we mention that aham, there is the subject, but there is a content to that aham. There is an entity or an aspect or a content which we call it as the for when I say I, we say I. There is something which is there, and because of the self, the opposed to the non-self is well known in the world as an immediately perceived non as a self-revealing entity. Because of this content in the concept I, what is the content? That is the avabhasa or the awareness. It is not mentioned directly, but the content of the concept, aparokshatvad, asmat pratyaya vishayatvad, aparokshatvad, pratyagatma prasiddhe. So that is what is happening. When we are saying the I and the world, you, and the rest of the things as objectified separately, there is an immediate relationship between the I and the world of objects, which is self-revealing in nature. It is not only that I am revealing the object outside as objects, the presence of object and I am perceiving the object as an object makes me the subject, but not the me which I now consider myself as the body. But there is a content when I say I, that I is not the one which now we are consumed, because when we see that objectifying, even the body is an object. We are able to see the object, even the mind, the emotions and the thoughts can be objectified. But in all this objectifying, or when the non-self is being taken up, there is the subjectivity of consciousness automatically being exposed due to the presence of the subjectivity, which is being immediately perceived. Na ayam asti niyamaha, nor there is any rule that something has to be superimposed on something else that is perceived and through the senses. It is not that this adhyasaha is always, because this adhyasa or the superimposition is permanent in nature or not removable, then we can never apprehend or never know of the self. The content of the I can never be known, because the adhyasa will always camouflage the pratyagatma. So the rule is that adhyasaha is not a permanent feature. Adhyasaha iti lokavyavahara. In the transactional world, we are doing it due to adhyasa. That time, the I is under, the content of the I is adhyasa as the body, the purusha or the individual in the lokavyavahara. But it is not that content is remaining all the time. Pura avastita eva vishaye vishayantaram adhyasitam iti apratyakshe api hi akashaha balaha talamalati iti adhyasyanti evam aviruddha pratyagatmani api anatma adhyasaha. Now, the boys superimpose the ideas of surface of a space or the concavity of the sky, like a dish covered on the top, or when they say that the space is the pollution is in the space is polluted. The sky cannot be polluted. It is the air which is getting polluted, which is there in the sky. That it is not an object of sense of perception. Hence, there is nothing impossible in the superimposing on the non-self on the self that is opposed to it. Now, what is here? This statement says that even though there is viruddha, that is pratyagatma and anatma, can never be. That first statement, yushmat asmat pratyagojarayo vishay vishayino tadharmanam idare adhyasaha na bhavidum arhati, that is the first statement. Now we are saying that even though it is aviruddha, pratyagatma anatma adhyasa bhavati, that atma is superimposed as anatma, saying that, like how it is there, where it cannot be considered, it is done like the sky, like a concavity of the sky as a dish covered in the top, or the pollution in the air. We say the sky is polluted. This is which cannot be polluted is now being attributed as polluted. Is the superimposition which is possible, saying that which cannot be superimposed can be superimposed due to error of judgment or due to the not knowing the reality. Tametat eva lakshanam adhyasam panditaha avedhyati manyate tad vivekena cha vasturupa avadharanam vidyam ahu tatra evam sati yatra yad adhyasaha tat kritena doshena gunena va anumatrena api sana sambadhyate. Tametat avidyakhyam atmanatmanoho iteretara adhyasam puraskritya sarve pramanam prameyam vyavahara laukikaha vaitikascha pravrittaha sarvani cha shastrani vidipradidesham pradisheda mokshaparani vidipradisheda mokshaparani. What is it? Tat etam evam lakshanam adhyasam panditaha avidya iti manyate. This superimposition that is of the nature is considered by the learned people as avidya. Now we say that the sky can never be polluted but we say the sky is polluted. These type of adhyasaha, the pandita, the learned people call it as avidya iti manyate. It is due to the non-reality apprehension. There is this type of errors in the judgment. Tat vivekena chu vastu swarupavadharanam vidyam ahu. So what is the antidote for it? Vidya, knowledge, or the proper understanding. The ascertainment of the nature of reality entity by separating superimposed thing from it is called avidya. Tatra tat vivekena. This is the most important part. Please remember it till you get the conviction of Advaita. Tad vivekena cha vastu swarupa avadharanam vidyam ahu. Vastu swarupa avadharanam, the real nature of the vastu or the object or the superimposed thing. Swarupam, there is a real nature for anything which is there in the world. Vastu swarupam is there. Avadharanam means understanding, the pure understanding of the real nature of the object. Through what? Vivekena, by knowledge. Appearance is not what we are talking about. The snake can never be real if you know the rope. That Vastu Swarupa is the rope, nature of the rope. Once the avadaranam of that happens, or the nature is known as nature, how will it know? The silveriness will appear, still it will be shining, but when the viveka is there, when the knowledge is there, there is no attraction towards picking up the silver in the seashore. Nor there will be a fear of the snake which is seen in the rope. Because the rope knowledge is there. That is a Vastu Swarupa Avadaranam. And how does it happen? It is not an experience which is not there before, but now you get it. No. Even before it was rope, when you were seeing snake also it was rope. Even after the knowledge comes, what you see is the rope only. What is getting negated is the appearance of the snake which was superimposed, and that is what is going through the viveka, and that is not physically, we are not removing any snake from the rope. There is no snake, real snake on the rope. We all know that. Same way, the anatma, or the nature of names and form in the world of objects, can never be physically removed. It will appear to remain the world as the world, but vivekena vastu swarupa avadaranam. The moment through the right knowledge we know the nature of the world, which includes you and me, because we are not separate from the world, and that knowledge has to arise in us. That is, what is the nature of this? Why am I seeing I am a limited individual? Why am I feeling as a man or a woman or aged, old, young, or whatever may be that? All these attributes which are being perceived on me is similar to what I am seeing the world also, the names and forms of everything. That superimposition can be removed only through viveka. This is why vidyam ahu. Tatra evam sati yatra yat adhyasah tat kritena doshena gunena va anumatrena vi sana sambandhyate. This being so, whenever there is a superimposition of one thing or another, the locus is not affected. Please understand that. In any other way, by merits or demerits of the thing that is being superimposed, the snake has never contaminated the rope, nor the silver has been part and parcel of that shell. No, there is no silver at all. Shining is a different aspect that is there in many other objects, but it is not silver. So evam sati, this being so, yatra yat adhyasah, wherever there is a superimposition, tat kritena doshena gunena va, by either way of the merits or demerits of the superimposition, va anumatrena api, even by a small, sana sambadhyate. Sa means that atma or the locus, na sambadhyeta, is not getting affected by that. So what happens is that without changing the nature of a substance, when we see something as different from it, this is what is called the adhyasa. And this is the reason why we are having the aham idam mame idam iti loka vyavahara, that I am getting separated out of the world, and that the world is an object and I am the subject is due to that avidya. Tam etam avidhyakyam atmanatma ideretara adhyasam puraskritya sarve pramana prameya vyavaharaha laukikaha vaidika cha pravrittaha sarvani cha shastrani vidhi pradisheda mokshaparani. Tam etam avidhyakyam atmanatma ideretara adhyasam puraskritya. All forms of worldly and vaidik, laikika and vaidika cha pravrittaha, behavior that are connected with the valid means of knowledge. Pramana prameya, that is valid means of knowledge and objects. Knowledge of objects of knowledge starts by taking for granted this mutual superimposition of the self and the non-self. Iteredara adhyasam puraskritya sarve pramana prameya vyavaharaha. That is why we have the laukika vaitika cha pravrittaha sarvani shastrani. All the scriptures here, you should understand, even the scripture is part of the adhyasa. Ana atma anatma iteredara adhyasam puraskritya eva, due to avidyakhyam, due to this ignorance, is why the mutual superimposition of the self and the non-self is known as nescience or avidya, and so do all the scriptures dealing with the injunction, prohibition and emancipation, moksha. Not only shastrani, vidhi, pratisheda and moksha, all of them are included in it. Pramana prameya for the shastrani is due to vyavahara, vaidika in the case of shastrani, laukika in the pravrittaha, sarvani cha. What does it, how does it happen? Atma anatma iteredara adhyasam puraskritya. The superimposition of the self and the non-self mutually. It is not that the self is being superimposed by the non-self. The non-self is also superimposed by the self. Evam, that is why it is called avidya. Total is the reason. This differentiating capacity, when it is not there, the superimposition is felt, and that is what is creating that separatedness between the self and the non-self. Really speaking, there can never be a separatedness like that, is what will be explained in the next coming thing. Kadam puna avidya vishayani pratyakshadini pramanani shastrani cha iti. So the question asked again, if that case, how again can be the means of valid knowledge such as direct perception as well as the scriptures have their locus cognizer who is subject of nescience? If it is in the grip of non-avidya, then how can be the direct perception as well as the scriptures give rise to right kind of knowledge? The knowledge also should become the part of the ignorant knowledge. So how will you say, how will you make it different from that? How can the means of knowledge such as direct and the scriptures have their locus as cognizer who is a subject of avidya? So here the question is that how can then you depend upon the self or the cognizer who is under the grip of avidya to know the vidya? What is his knowledge is now avidya. So whatever scriptures and the perception what he is doing is contaminated or under the delusion of superimposition, adhyasaha. This answer to this we will take in the next class. Any questions? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawada.